What if? What if the way that you've been going about trying to heal past traumas, past challenges, past bad experiences, past rejections? What if you've been working it the long way? And what if there's a quicker way? What if there's an easier way? What if there's a simpler way? What if there's a faster way to heal it all? I had a conversation with a friend this morning who'll remain nameless for the purpose of this video. And we were specifically talking about jealousy. And we were talking about how he has had some feelings of jealousy in his relationship. And I basically shared an experience that I've had with jealousy in the past few years. So about 3 years ago, I noticed myself feeling jealous towards my wife Sati and a personal trainer that was in our gym. Beautiful guy, great human being. But I noticed myself starting to feel jealous. And it started to create friction. It started to create arguments. We even would start having arguments where I would mention this person in the arguments. And the biggest lesson that I've got from that is, as I've been going on my healing journey, as I've been doing a lot of inner child work, and as I've been in, I've had therapy and I've been in men's groups, it's become evidently clear to me that all this jealousy was this individual reminded me of my younger self. He reminded me of me when I was more enthusiastic, when I was more energized, when I was more joyful. And at that particular juncture of my life, a lot of that felt like it had kind of drained out of me. So my jealousy was not to the connection with Sati. The jealousy was actually a jealousy. I was jealous of him for having an energy and a enthusiasm that I didn't have, but I knew was in me, but it was just not coming out. And so I talked about this with my friend earlier, and he was talking about his, how him and his, partner are really good at resolving conflicts and stuff. This has come up a few times. And I said, my recommendation is that you deal with the root source of that. So what I mean by that is, I know that the root source of my jealousy was a feeling of not being enough. And the root source of me feeling not enough was because of various things, such as my dad leaving when I was very young, my mum not having the ability to emotionally nurture me the way I wanted and needed it, because she didn't have emotional nurturing the way that she needed in her childhood. Her mum left her. Her dad didn't have the ability to do it, so she didn't know how to do it for me. And so I didn't have that, right? So I grew up with a very much an unconscious kind of trait of desperately seeking validation from other people that I was enough, and that specifically I was enough compared to other people. So when it came up that maybe my inner child was feeling like he was competing with this personal trainer, I felt jealous. And the jealousy was effectively a way of making me seem more significant, because an argument in and of itself is a way of keeping two people connected. Like if you've ever heard of couples who, like, if you hear them say they're done and like there's no emotion, that's a problem. Versus a couple who are like shouting and ranting and raving at each other, right? There's passion there, right? It's kind of like I imagine like Italian people when they have arguments. I just imagine every Italian house is like smash plates followed by sex, right? And the point I'm making here is that the emotional trigger will never truly be deactivated until we go back to the root source, until we go back to the core wound of where it was created. So one of the things that I always recommend to people, I've started recommending to people because I'm congruently going through this myself. I am at least once or sometimes twice a day at the moment doing an inner child meditation. Very soon I'm going to start doing inner child coaching. And I've been doing very, very deep inner child meditations, which has got me in a position where I go and, I literally in the meditation, I go and spend, the meditation is 10 minutes, right? But I go and spend this amount of time during the meditation playing with my inner child. Like I go back to the flat where I used to live, and I go on the grass where I used to play as a child, which was like kind of down this path and down this little verge. Like you could see it from, like we lived on the second floor of this masonette flat, and you could look out the window and see it. And if I was ever playing down there, my mum would just watch out the kitchen window to keep an eye on me, right? And I'm down there playing, and I get out of my car and I go and play with the like 7 or 8 year old version of me. And I hang out with him and I tell him he's enough, and I give him words of affirmation. And I've been doing this particular meditation now for about 10 days. And I'm noticing a real shift in terms of my internal like joy, right? So I give an example of where this has come out. Because I talked about it with my friend, and he said, what have you felt any benefits from doing these meditations? And then I went on to explain that just this morning in the gym, like at time of doing this video, I was in the gym this morning, and there's a couple of lovely old guys that train in my gym, and they use this machine which is called a Smith machine, right? Which is like a bench with like it like goes up and down on these like pistons, right? Anyway, they use this machine like all the time. And there's a couple of other guys that were on it, and they were kind of frustrated about it. And I said, you two are always hogging that machine anyway. So when it became free, I like rushed over to this machine and like hung my legs over this machine and like hung up and down and made like monkey noises, right? And my point is that was not the adult part of me that did that. It was a completely unconscious, it was a completely in the moment, completely playful thing. I didn't think about it. I didn't, should I go over and climb like a monkey on this? Like it just happened, right? And I truly believe that a lot of our issues in life, a lot of our problems, a lot of our unhealed wounds is because we are like, if our mind is like a computer, then we've kind of downloaded loads of corrupt files, and we've got too many tabs open at once, and we're looking at other people rather than looking inward for our validation and approval, and whether we're enough and whether we're worthy and all this kind of stuff. And that's a problem. And what we've got to do, I believe, to heal, the simplest and fastest way to heal, I've never, to this day, I've not, I've had hundreds of hours of therapy, and I have not experienced anything that has shifted me as fast as this particular type of inner child meditation. Somewhere under the audio, I'll put the video, I'll put the link to it so you can check it out. But doing it regularly for like 7 days, 10 days, and just see what happens, because it is powerful. And so I truly believe that, like, if you've got unhealed stuff, there's a lot to be said for therapy, a lot to be said for talking it out. But at the end of the day, talking is just one kind of mode of being. I'm a coach for a living, right? So I'm a big believer in coaching. But here's what I've also found is that I probably wouldn't have got to inner child healing and meditations had I not had coaching. So if you're watching this video and you're a coach, keep doing what you're doing, because most people out there in the muggle world will probably not have the courage to just go, you know what I need? They're not like brushing their teeth at night. Like, you know what I need? I need inner child work. Most normal people aren't doing that. But if you're here and you're in my coaching community, if you've been on our trainings, you'll know I always say that, like, for me, coaching is like a gateway to the soul. Like, it's like a gateway to the deeper parts of you. Because when you ask people questions that are really deeply meaningful and impactful that maybe they wouldn't usually ask themselves, or nobody else has ever asked them before, when people answer those questions honestly with vulnerability, they can find new they can access new parts of themselves that maybe they'd not thought of or have been laying dormant for a very long time. Even the question of like, what did you want to be when you're a kid, right? That can just open up so much, right? And it's not even a particularly brilliant question, but it can just open up so much for that person to think about and go on a search, right? But that's why inner child work is so good, because you could ask that question to a person and it might spiral them into a negative place, because if they didn't have a good childhood, which is why I say this type of inner child healing work is so powerful, because I truly believe that every problem, every pain ultimately goes back to the source, childhood. Doesn't matter how well you were raised and parented, there's probably something in there. Especially if you're watching this video, you wouldn't be watching it if everything in your life was perfect inside of you, perhaps. And so I believe it all goes back to childhood. And when we're willing to admit that, face it, and just give our inner child some time and some attention, 10 minutes a day, it can make a huge difference to your self-esteem, self-worth. Like, I've noticed myself a lot less looking out. Like, I've had a really long-standing tendency of looking out, like as in, not like, are people watching me, but looking at other people to reference. Like, is what they're doing good? Is what they're doing good? Should I copy that? Should I model that? And I'm doing that a lot less, which is, Aaron Doherty talks about individuation and the importance of that, how important it is to be yourself, because you're the only one, right? You can't be somebody else. You can only be you. So you may as well be the best you. That's it. Hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this one? Has this one been useful for you? Is this new stuff? Is this common sense but uncommon in practice? And also drop me a message if you want to know more about the inner child coaching that I'm going to be bringing to the fore very soon. That's it from me. God bless. Peace out. See you next time. Take care.